Om and Namaste. I want to preface this video by saying that the topic I'm going to be talking about is suicide and taking your own life, if you already couldn't tell by the title of the video. And with the way YouTube and really social media works as a whole these days, there's videos I've listened to that when they use the word suicide, they bleep it out because suicide is such a hot topic, such a heated topic, that it's a very volatile thing to discuss. You look up suicide and it won't even show you the content related to suicide unless you agree to see that content. So I wouldn't be surprised if this video I'm about to make doesn't even reach you guys. But assuming that it does reach you, and if you haven't already clicked off and would like to engage in this conversation with me and listen to what I have to share with you, thank you for joining me. And as I said, I'm going to be discussing suicide. But what I'm going to try to offer for you guys in this video is looking at suicide. First of all, looking at suicide from my perspective, but moreover, to make it less personal, looking at suicide from a spiritually oriented perspective, a perspective based more in things that come about through doing spiritual work on yourself. So yeah, if you'd like to hang out, listen to what I have to say about suicide, please do. This is a very hot topic, as I said, and as I share this video and as I sit here breaking this down, making my way into the video, I want to unpack this very gently, very delicately, because it's what we're talking about is playing with our very own life force, playing with our very own lives in this moment. What we're talking about is suicide, ending your own life. So I want to take my time, tread lightly, and really feel my way into every little thing that I share with you guys in this video. The depth of pain and anguish and sorrow that we experience and can experience, and in a way will experience in this life, is unfathomable, unspeakable. The depth of which we can feel pain, sadness, sorrow, loss, feelings of heavily justified nihilism and cynicism, feelings of meaninglessness, pointlessness, feelings of being trapped, being confused, being stuck in a state of what I would call karmic paralysis, of not knowing what to do next, because whether you don't know what to do next to help yourself, or you see that what you're about to do or what you feel like you should do will be fruitless in effect, positive effect. Karmic paralysis being a space of just not knowing what to do, not knowing how to move, being literally paralyzed in a state of hopelessness, in a state of shock, not knowing where to go. Suicide is directly related to our well-being. The strange part is, I'd imagine that there have been instances, probably not even heard of or spoken of or known about, but instances where people took their own life in excitement and anticipation of what death brings about, what happens when we die. But like I said, that's not the mainstream narrative of suicide whatsoever. The mainstream narrative of suicide is an individual taking their own life as a way of ending their pain, escaping their pain, putting an end to their suffering. We, in this moment, as you watch this video, came out of nowhere. Not only did we come out of nowhere, but existence itself, the manifest world all around us, came out of nowhere. Not only did it come out of nowhere, but it's spontaneously arising in every single moment right now. The presence of this reality right now seems permanent, but it's a rapid vibration of arousal of something. I don't know what that something is. That's the mystery of reality. But let's just focus on ourselves for this moment. We came out of seemingly nowhere. If you go back and back and back and back into your memory, you get younger and younger, and you remember this year, and then you remember that summer, and then you remember doing that, and then you're younger and you're a little kid, and then you're a baby, and then that happened, and then as you continue to make your way back, you eventually come to a blank. You come to a what you would call lack of memory, not remembering. And what that looks like is nothing. A blank slate. You didn't exist. A more generalized way to describe that would be that you can't remember beyond that. You can't remember later than that. Really what it is nothing. There was seemingly nothing. But like I said, the common way to understand that would be that you can't remember further back than your most distant memory. So as you make your way back into the past, you will see that you came from seemingly nowhere. Prior to being born, what was going on? What was going on? Where were you? What were you doing? Who were you? Where were you? What was going on? Nothing. We would say nothing. We often describe it as black, nothingness, lack of existence. But it's not even that. It's not even, lack of existence is something. Black is something. I heard a very good example not too long ago of someone describing what it's like to be blind. Us privileged people who have the ability and honor to be able to see, we often think that being blind would mean that you just see black, as if when you close your eyes or when you're in a dark room with no light, that's what it's like to be blind. But this person describing this said, that's not even what it's like. He said, the best way that I can describe to you what it's like to be blind is to tell you to imagine what it would be like to see out of your elbow. Your elbow isn't seeing black. It's just not seeing. There's no visual perception in the elbow whatsoever. That's what it's like to be blind. It's not black. Black is something. It's literally a lack thereof of stimulus whatsoever. That's what we understand to be nothing. And as you trace your way back, that's where it appears that we came from, is nothing. And if you go in the other direction, into the perceived future, the imagined future, it hasn't happened yet. It's 10 seconds from now. It's a second from now. It's 10 years from now. It's when you die. That's the thing in this life, is you don't get out alive. You are going to die. Death, mortality is a given. It's written into the script, the law of the universe, or at least let's just say the law of life. Death is a given. As you go forward into the perceived future, and we reach that inevitable point of death, dying, we believe that we will return into that space of nothingness, of lack of existence, lack of being somebody, lack of experience at all. We think we will return into this blank nothingness. A lot of people that believe death to be entering into a space of lack of existence, where you're not even like entering a space, you stop existing. A lot of people relate that to deep sleep, where when you go to bed at night, where do you go? Not when you're having dreams though, but when you're out, gone, unconscious. A lot of people think that that's what death is like. No one, no where, nobody, no thing. Not even the nothing, not even the awareness or presence of nothing. But the thing is, this is something that we can directly see and experience in our our living life multiple times. Every single night that we go to sleep, we can see, we are aware that nothing was happening in sleep, not including the dreams. I mean, even then, you can include the dreams and you can realize that someone was there to realize that these dreams were taking place. Maybe, let's not say someone was there, but something was there to realize that dreams were taking place. That same thing, that same something that was there to realize and be aware that dreams were taking place, is the same something that is aware that nothing is happening. And when we wake up, we say, I was nowhere. I didn't exist. Nothing was happening. But who knows that? How do you know that nothing was happening? It's because something was there to know such a thing. There's an innate, intuitive knowing that nothing was happening. How does nothing happen? You see? And not only the paradox of nothing or a lack of existence happening, but the knower, the perceiver of the nothing that happened. We don't catch on to those little things like that, those little inconsistencies in our own speech and perspective, because it's so very subtle, this thing that I'm talking about. It's so very subtle. And the reason I say I talk about that, the reason I'm going to be talking about this from what I'd call a spiritually oriented perspective, is because, well, first of all, I am someone who has involved myself and immersed myself deeply in spiritual philosophies of many different cultures and religions. But more so, the reason I say that is because as I continue to make my way into what I'm going to be talking about in this video, you will see that it completely goes against the grain of what science and physics says to us. The narrative of science, the narrative of physics. What I'm about to share with you goes completely against that. So I'm just going to, I said I wanted to tread lightly, but I'm just going to drop the bomb and tell you we don't know what happens when we die. We don't. How would you know? How could you know? We don't know what happens when we die. We believed in someone's idea of what they proposed is what happens when the human vessel dies. And this is where the narrative of science comes in, is the reason that we think nothing happens when we die and we suddenly don't exist anymore is because of the overarching narrative of science telling us and themselves through their own studies of the physical world and neurology and anatomy and biology and whatnot, through them telling us that what consciousness is and what existence is, because consciousness is the very awareness of existence at all, according to them, what that is an electrical impulse within the anatomy, the biological anatomy of not only humans, but animals as well. But let's just focus on humans. What consciousness and existence is. The reason that this is all apparent is because there's an electrical impulse within my body and your body and all of these humans around us. Within all of them, there is an electrical signal that is causing the awareness of reality to be like our bodies act like a conduit that creates awareness. Awareness is an electrical thing that suddenly arises when there's a particular physical anatomy and a particular electrical jolt suddenly between a heart and a brain and bodies and cells and blood flowing and all that stuff. We believe that consciousness is a product of the brain. We believe that consciousness is created by the brain and the brain alone, and that consciousness isn't something intrinsic in reality, but is rather something that we have come to within our body. And when the brain dies, consciousness goes with it, because consciousness is a product of the brain. So when the electrical signals of the brain and the body and the heart stop responding, aka the body dies, we believe that our perception of anything is gone and we don't exist anymore. That's the popular, that's the main way to look at not only consciousness but death as well, is that when you die, that's it. It's lights out, nothing, nowhere. It was like you never even existed to begin with. Tell me this. Who has died and come back and said, yeah, nothing happens when you die? First of all, if you come back from dying, you don't really hold a valid ground of being able to say what happens when you ultimately die, because here you are alive again, brought back into the mind and the body that died whenever it did and went into the afterlife, but then through whatever circumstance it was, whether it was a physical thing or whether it was a spiritual thing, you came back, whatever you is that moves on into another life, you came back and then you reported to the tribe, nothing happens when you die. But it's very possible that you were just experiencing a moment like deep sleep. Because you didn't stay there. You didn't stay there. You didn't experience, like, dying and then coming back and not having an experience, like a near-death experience in that time. Dying and then coming back and telling everybody nothing happens when you die is like Um, it's like living to to 3 years old and saying the body doesn't age past 3. It's maybe that's a bad analogy. Let's imagine that you've never been happy. You've never experienced happiness, and you say to everybody, there's no such thing as happiness. Even though you just haven't yet experienced happiness. Happiness is very much so a real thing. You just haven't experienced it yet. Or the 3-year-old analogy I was saying, a 3-year-old saying 10-year-olds don't exist, or whatever. People beyond the age of 3 don't exist. You just haven't gotten to that point yet. And that's the very same thing with dying and then coming back. And in that interval of time where you were dead, nothing happened, you weren't in the afterlife long enough for something to begin taking place. You were in an in-between zone, a bardo state, as the Tibetans would call it, or even like purgatory or something. So that's the main thing right there, is we don't know what happens when we die. We believe in the story of someone who says what happens when we die based off of their theories and their studies that they've done on the body. But a scientist who studies the brain and body of, let's just say, human beings, they have no experiential knowledge whatsoever of what that individual is going through. When you die, when you see someone die, what happens is they stop moving, they stop talking, their heart isn't beating, they're not breathing, and they rot into nature. That's what happens. You don't know where they're at. Just because they stopped moving, stopped breathing, stopped saying stuff to you, doesn't give you the you can't determine where they're at based on what their physical body is doing. In the same way that if I were to sit here right now, you don't know what's going on inside of me on a conscious level, on the level of my conscious experience of life. You don't know what's happening. All you know of me is what I sound like, what I physically look like, what I feel like if I touch you, and that's it. But when I die, meaning the body stops, the heart stops, the brain stops, and I start to rot into nature, you don't know where I went. You don't know where I went. You don't have the ability to know that because you are here alive. You're alive. You don't know where your friends and loved ones go when they die because you're alive, and you will only know what death is when you die. The reason I'm bringing this up is because people who are suicidal, whether they have attempted suicide, have committed suicide, or are considering committing suicide, a suicidal person, they believe that when they kill themselves, when they commit suicide, they will no longer exist. And that's because they believe in the mainstream narrative of what we think consciousness is, what we think life is, and what we think death is. They are believing in a narrative. They don't know what happens when they die. They may believe in something so hard and to such an extent that they think they know what will happen when they die, but ultimately they don't, because how could they? The scientists that say nothing happens when you die and once the body dies, that's it and nothing exists anymore, how could they know that? Did they die? If they died, how could they tell you? And when they come back, they're in a way not credible. They're not credible because here they are existing again in their mind. We don't know what happens when we die. In the same way we don't know what happens before we were born, we don't know what happens when we die. So thinking that killing yourself is an escape from the pain and suffering you're experiencing in this life is, in the nicest way I can put it, a form of ignorance. We don't know what happens when we die. Stop telling yourself that killing yourself will free you, because you don't know that. You don't know that experientially at all. You're believing someone's story and studies, something that we think is real, which we call science, and basing your actions off of that. The only reason suicide and killing yourself is even a thing is because we think we stop existing. So that's the main thing right there, is we don't know what happens when we die. We don't know what happens when we die. Now I want to talk a bit about why someone would go down the route or the road of committing suicide as a means of freeing themselves from pain. The first thing, I want to make that very clear. You and I both don't know what happens when we die. If we think we do, we're believing in a story that someone made up. I feel comfortable saying that there's more evidence suggesting that something does indeed happen when we die, being near-death experiences, than there is of people dying and coming back saying nothing happens. Nothing happens when you die. And as I was describing earlier, we in a way can't know what happens when we die, because if you come back and then say you know what happens when you die, it's, like I was saying a moment ago, it's in a way it's incredible. You are alive again. You are not death itself. You are alive. In a mind, in a body, with a personality, telling what they think and believe and experienced. But that is not death. That is life. This moment, right now. With all our thoughts and all our beliefs and all our opinions and who we think we are and what we've gone through. If you die and come back, you have an experience of what happened in that period of time that you were dead. But who's to say that an experience wasn't going to come about in an eventual period of time after dying? You know? People who die and then come back are only dead for, I don't know any specific statistics on this, but they're not dead for more than a day. Sometimes it's minutes or maybe hour or hours. We're not dead for a long time when we come back. And that's a very short period of time to then come back and say you know what death is all about. You experienced a very tiny window of that death, you know? So, I want to talk about why we would feel the inclination to kill ourselves, to free ourselves from our pain. Assuming that we think, one moment. I'm starting another video because my microphone starts to have a delay in the audio around the 30-minute mark. Assuming that we think death is a lack of existence, where when you die, nothing exists anymore. The reason we want to kill ourselves to free our pain is because we can see that the pain is arising out of someone existing, out of existence. We feel that the reason we are in pain is because of existence. So if I end existence, if I end my existence, there will be no pain. It's honestly a very elementary thing to understand, that when you think you don't exist anymore when you die, and right now you exist, and in that existence you are accompanied by great feelings of pain and despair, you're going to eventually, with deep enough despair and of course a certain type of individual, they're going to eventually want to commit suicide or consider committing suicide because they think that that is a way out of their pain. So that right there, what I just said, is an innate knowing that where the pain is arising is right now. It's right now. The pain is arising out of this existence I'm experiencing right now. So if I kill myself and then stop existing, I won't experience pain. In other words, if I cease to be, so too will my pain and suffering. We see our very own self as the problem, as the obstacle, as the trap, the prison. So we think that by ending the self, we will be free. But whose best interest do you have in mind when you're considering suicide? If your own self is the source of the pain, who is it that thinks that ending themselves will liberate them? Liberate who? Who will be liberated when they commit suicide? Who will be freed when they kill themselves? You see what I'm saying? This is the far out part. This is like I was saying, the spiritual perspective, the philosophical, the contemplative perspective of ending our own lives. Where is the pain coming from? Where is the pain taking place? When we're considering suicide, we're saying, I am going to commit suicide. I am experiencing despair. I want this to end. I don't want to exist anymore. It's the I, the self, the subject, the ego, is the house of the pain and the suffering and the suicidal ideations. What this is, of the whole trip of suicide, committing suicide, contemplating committing suicide, is the same ordeal that everyone is all a part of. And what that is how can I be happy? How can I once and for all be free from pain and sadness? What is the way out? How do I get out? How do I free myself? How do I become okay forever? I'm here in this life. I'm born. And you got the people that say, I didn't ask to be born. I'm experiencing this pain. It's just one horrible thing after another. All these downfalls, all these horrible things happen. I'm subject to all this pain. What the hell do I do to get out of this? That's what everybody's experiencing. Not everybody is considering killing themselves as a means of acquiring that peace and that freedom. But ultimately what we're all trying to do is be okay. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to be happy. We're trying to be in peace. We want our life. What is it that causes someone to want to kill themselves? Pain. If you were happy, peaceful, filled with love and joy and humor and lightness and clear thinking and positive action and intention. Put simply, what you would call a good life. If you were happy, why in the world would you want to kill yourself? You wouldn't. What makes us want to commit suicide is the pain that we feel. Not only the pain that we feel, but the intensity of that pain, the persistence of the pain, but most importantly, not knowing the way out of that pain. That's the kicker right there. Suicide is a final attempt. It's bungee jumping into the unknown. These people who commit suicide think they know where they're headed when they kill themselves. But little do they know, they don't know. And the people who have committed suicide have success. The people who have successfully ended their own lives and didn't come back to tell people what they think death is, they know what death is. They are death. In the same way that in this life right now we are intrinsically life itself, when you finally die and don't come back, you are death. You become death. You merge into death. Death isn't an experience you're having. You are death. In the same way, right now, as you watch this video, life isn't an experience that you are having. You are life. Right now. You are not only life, but existence itself. The people who have committed suicide, who didn't come back, they now know what death is. And the far out part is we don't know where they're at. We don't know what they're experiencing. Whether they are on another plane of consciousness, or they've come back into another form of life, or if they are in that space of apparent nothingness, lack of existence, What science and physics offers to us as to how the universe came to be a thing at all is that out of nowhere, in a single instance, and for no reason whatsoever, everything exploded into existence. I've heard it put before that if you can believe that, you can believe anything. Here's the scientists and the physicists, the seemingly most credible, realistic, rational, logical people that look into the nature of reality, the nature of life, the nature of the physical world and space, and that's their proposal of what existence is. It came out of nowhere instantly for no reason. What if that's what this life is too? What that shows you, and I mean, if you didn't catch on to what I'm talking about the Big Bang Theory. That just, boom, okay, existence. If that's what happened, that goes to show, that explains in the very event of it itself, that within nothing, lack of existence, is the seed of existence. Within no existence is the seed and potential, is another way you could put it, of existence. So let's just assume that death is nothing. Nothing happens when you die. When you kill yourself or when you die, nothing happens. You don't exist anymore. You return to the space that you were in prior to being born. You know, that's the scientific, rational way of understanding death, is that you return to nothing. You don't exist anymore. Well, going off of the lines of the Big Bang Theory, in that space of nothingness of death that we all think is what death is, in that space is the potential of life again. Maybe not the potential of life, but the potential of something. Within nothing is the potential of something. And I talk about this being a spiritual approach to looking at not only suicide but death. What I'm talking about is duality, polarity, yin and yang, on and off, day and night, hot, cold, up, down, left, right, in, out. When there's one thing, there is to the other. High tide, low tide, summer, winter, happy, sad, life, death. When was the last time there was a never-ending summer? When was the last time the tide went out and didn't come back in? When was the last time the sun set and never came back up? It's a rhythm. It's a cycle. The universe is cyclic. On, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. The reason we think nothing happens eternally when we die is because not only does one life feel so long, but we have no experiential knowledge of a previous life. Nor do we have experiential knowledge of what's to come after dying, after leaving this life. We're on a wild fucking ride right now. That's the simplest way to put the spiritual approach to suicide, is we're on a wild fucking ride right now. No one knows what this is, who they are, where they are, what's happening, why it's happening, where it came from or where it's headed. Here we are. And what brings us to kill ourselves is pain, anguish, suffering, something that is very much so prevalent in this life. I experience it every single day. I mean, not like to the magnitude that many other people are experiencing, but I experience the nonsense and the melodrama every single day too, just like I'm assuming you do. All the bullshit. All the stuff that drives us to look into spirituality, philosophy, self-inquiry, better habits, mental health, learning, helping ourselves. All the bullshit, we all experience it. It's as though we come into this life and at first nothing's really a big deal because there's not that ego, there's not that I that is the one who's experiencing problems. And then there starts to be the I who doesn't want this and wants that, and this happens and I didn't want it to, and then this happened and yay, it happened, I wanted it to. The I comes in, and then it makes this flip where now it's as though sadness is my default, pain is my default, and the reason I'm running about like a chicken with its head cut off is in an attempt to gain happiness, to acquire love and peace and joy. It's as though me in myself as I am is pain and suffering itself, in what's called samsara in Buddhism, or more specifically dukkha, suffering, pain. Trying to find the way out, never-endingly trying to find the way out of pain. And where suicide comes into this picture, I mean, we do all sorts of crazy, incredible, far out, ignorant, but also wise things to try and move out of our pain. You know? We get addicted to drugs. We get in relationships. We move somewhere else. We pick up a new hobby. We let go of a new hobby. We get friends. We let go of friends. We change our personality. We learn something. We let go of something. And another thing is we kill ourselves. People end their lives as a form of trying to escape their pain. The people that end their lives... Okay, so here's the weird thing. They don't want to have to do that. They don't want to have to kill themselves. People that say, I don't fucking care anymore, I'm just going to kill myself. Like, genuinely, not messing around, not saying it in a sort of lighthearted way, but they mean it. They say, I don't care anymore, I'm going to kill myself. Unbeknownst to them, they still do indeed care very, 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 very much. So much so that they're considering killing themselves. Killing yourself is an act of care, of concern, of trying to save yourself. Many people look at killing yourself as cowardly. I don't think that's the case. I think someone killing themselves, suicide, is the troubled, confused, karmically paralyzed ego that doesn't know the everlasting way to peace, to happiness, to love. And it believes in a story that it's learned of what life is and what death is, death being the end of it all. And so they say, okay, I'm going to kill myself because if I don't exist, there is no one for there to be pain to happen to. This is such a deep philosophy and thing to inquire into. Ending the self to find freedom, to find liberation. People who are depressed, why do you think they sleep all the time? You know, you see it. People who are depressed just lay in bed and just sleep as much as they can. Why is it you think they're doing that? I realized one day that it's most likely, you can of course consider lack of motivation and passion and drive to do anything else. But I think a deeper aspect of it is that when you go into deep sleep, there is nobody. The ego that we are ceases to be temporarily when we fall asleep at night. The ego is the house of the pain and the problems. So someone who's depressed, they're sleeping all the time because it's like temporary freedom. Without even wording it to themselves. What they're saying is, the ego itself, is the problem. I'm going to go to sleep because when I sleep, the ego ceases to be. The ego is the thing that has problems. The ego is the subject of the pain itself. So when I go to sleep, the ego ceases to be. When there's not the ego, there is not a subject for the pain and anguish to be happening to. So therefore, going to sleep is a form of liberation for me. Like I said, they're not wording that to themselves, the people who are depressed and sleeping and stuff. And if they are wording it to themselves in such a fleshed out kind of way like that, they're already on the way out of the pain, if you're realizing something like that. if you're realizing that the ego and the I is the very source of the pain, you know? If you're aware of that, you've made the corner. You've come around the bend and you're on your way home. You're on your way home. I've also heard it put by many people that they don't have the courage to commit suicide. And I mean, I understand what they're saying. They don't have the balls, they don't have the guts to pull the trigger, to jump, to do it. They don't have the balls to do that. But as time has gone on, I've come to hear that statement in a completely different way. When someone says, I don't have the courage to kill myself, the way I hear it is, no, you don't have the courage to live. That's why you're going down the route of suicide. You don't have the courage to live. That's what it is. It's far out stuff. And from the deepest place that I can speak in this moment, I don't want to sound calloused and cold and with a lack of compassion, because it's actually entirely the other way around. I share this as a way of sharing with you my understanding of the problematic nature built into life and the pain that we can feel, and the philosophies and contemplation that I've not only pondered on myself but have learned and heard other people say, that I say, yeah, man, that makes more sense to me than the other narratives that are available. You know, I don't want to dismantle the legitimacy of your pain, because I'm well aware of the depth of what that pain and anguish could be. Not only the physical feeling of it, but the fucking mind and the mazes and the laps, the rat race, the absolute snare of thinking and justifying and remembering, and the fear and the excitement and the confusion and everything. I am well aware of how insane it is. And I'm trying to offer to you my awareness of being the eye of the hurricane, because that's what we are. We are not what's happening to us. We are the in-between space. We are the in-between the thought. We are the observer of reality itself. Reality itself is the observer looking at itself. You are the eye of the storm. You are not what you're thinking. You are not the ideas you have. You are not who you think you are. You are not the feelings you're having. When you say, I am thinking, I am feeling, I am alive, I exist, I'm sad, I'm happy, who is this I? It's consciousness itself. When you stop saying, I this, and I that, and when you stop feeling, I need, I want, I fear, I hope, I wish, you are awareness itself. That awareness is free of any impression of mind and emotion and perspective. What you are, what we are, is untarnished being itself, which is joy, peace, freedom, liberation. And this is really, I can use as a segue into describing the wisdom and the real spiritual significance and depth of suicide and killing yourself. Something deep within us knows that there is everlasting peace. And we understand, even if we don't word it to ourselves, that where that peace lies is in stopping being somebody that's suffering. We're aware that where the pain ends when I ends. Pain stops when the I stops. That's what all these teachings, these spiritual philosophies and teachings are talking about. But they're not telling you to kill yourself. They're telling you to stop thinking so much, to stop believing your thoughts, to retract from the hurricane and become the I. Settle back into what you are, which is not the pain, not the memories, not the thoughts, not the ideas. We devise a completely believable, justifiable, real problem. And then we try to work our way out of it. As Swami Vivekananda said, we cover our own eyes and then weep that it's dark. That's what we're doing. We veil ourselves from our own inherent freedom and peace, and then work our asses off trying to go back to it. But it's the very working to come back to it that is keeping us from it. It's the far out part. We understand that where the pain stops is when the I stops. But our culture, and really people all over the world, we aren't aware of what needs to be done to free ourselves. And we're at a loss, and we don't know what to do. And we think, I'm just going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself. Nothing happens when I die. I need to kill myself. I don't want to, but I don't know the way out. I can't handle this pain anymore. I need to end it. That comes about not only, this is paradoxical, that comes about not only through our knowledge of being aware that the end of the I and the ego is where freedom and everlasting peace is, but also from our ignorance of not knowing a way to do that while remaining in this incarnation right now. That's the hard part. Not only is that the hard part, but that's what spiritual work and spiritual practice is learning how to be here now in the midst of pain and sadness and happiness and loss and gain and fame and shame and pleasure and pain. All of it. In the face of it all, right now, here it is. The storm, the hurricane of existence. To be here now and to be, in a way, tuned into the place in yourself that is indifferent. And as I said a while ago, untarnished by what's happening in the world. That's what spiritual practice is about. Is cultivating the one who is free. Cultivating the Atman. The ultimate Godhead. The soul of ourselves right now. Free of the thoughts. Free of the personality. Free of the circumstances and consequences of the world around us. You don't need to do something. When you have developed enough depth in your spiritual practice, you don't need to do something to free yourself from the pain and the consequences and the thoughts and the emotions and the stuff going on in the world. Because you're tuned in, and this is just my understanding, when you're tuned into that place in yourself, which is the soul, which is existence, which is consciousness, which is bliss itself, Sat Chit Ananda, you understand that you don't need to do shit. You don't need to change the world to make you happy. You don't need to kill yourself to make you happy. You are happiness. And there is weird stuff going on in the world. and a collage and onslaught of thinking and feeling. If you're still here with me, thank you. Like I said, this is a heavy thing to unpack. You don't need to kill yourself because nature's going to do it for you. I was talking about that quite a while ago, that death is inherent in reality. No one gets out alive. Death is going to come. You don't need to do it because nature's going to do it for you. And to share with you my personal spiritual perspective of this whole thing is that I'm going to die naturally. I don't need to do it myself. And in the meantime, while I'm here in this life, I want to work on remembering who I am and being nice to people. Being nice to people, being nice to myself. Creating beautiful things in the world that help people. That's what this YouTube channel is. This is what my life is for and about. Is remembering who I am and being compassionate. Cultivating compassion. Remembering. And I'm going to die at some point. And I don't want to jump in and intervene by killing myself because I can't handle, or I think I can't handle, what God is presenting to me in the period of living. I want to take everything, that spirit, that God, that Ishwara, which in Hinduism is the ordainer of everything. It's why it's all happening. I want to take everything offered to me by spirit, which, behind the scenes and around the corner is really just myself in disguise. I want to take everything that's happening in this life as an opportunity to learn, to cultivate, to harvest wisdom, love, compassion, and to just dissolve deeper and deeper and deeper and let go deeper and deeper and deeper into love and presence, and be able to offer that to people who are in the same process I'm at, or I'm in, rather. To be able to offer to people that, hey man, I know it doesn't seem alright, but it is. You're all good. Life is divine. Life is insane. Life is a dream. Life is a mystery. Came out of nowhere and you're headed into somewhere you don't know. Can't remember where you came from and you don't know where you're headed. Here we are, bro. Let's be in love. Let's have fun. When we're not feeling good, let's look into why. Let's work on it. Let's iron the shit out. Let's stop doing and thinking for a moment and allow. It's like we're throwing rocks into the water of our being constantly, with every thought you have, with every action you do, with everything you feel. It's just rock after rock after rock into the water of the spirit, of yourself. Let's stop throwing rocks for a minute and let those ripples clear up a bit. And we'll see the peace, the stillness, the love, the joy. Far out. I've listened to Ram Dass talk about suicide, and someone asked him to share his thoughts on suicide. And simply put, what he said is he doesn't feel like he has the moral right to determine what someone should or shouldn't do with their own life. And it was far out to hear, because, the main thing is, no, don't kill yourself. Stay alive. But what Ram Dass said in that moment was, if you feel like that's what you should do, I'm not going to tell you not to. I love you. I'm here for you. If you want to hang out, we can try to work it out. But if you feel in your heart that that's what you should do, blessings. And I will see you on the other side. And that was far out to me to hear. I was thinking and expecting Ram Dass, he's going to tell you, no, man, like, you got to be here and don't kill yourself and life is important and do the most work you can, which he did say. He said that his personal feeling towards that is that he sees life as every single day as an opportunity to learn, and that this life right now is very special, very rare. It's a very rare occurrence to be here, incarnated in this life, and to utilize every single moment to the utmost of your ability to learn, to remember, to be here now. So he's not encouraging you to kill yourself whatsoever, but, like he said, if that's what you feel you should do, blessings. I love you. Pretty crazy. And that's, I could sit here and talk all pretty and wise until I'm blue in the face, but you're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to hear what you're going to hear. You're going to think and understand what you individually think and understand. I can't change you. I can only be what I am and be a space that shares what I think and feel, and maybe you'll be able to sift something out of that helps you. Because we don't want to kill ourselves. We don't want to fucking die. We want to be happy. We want to be in love. You know? I can't express enough how much I do understand the pain and the anguish and the suffering and feeling trapped and not knowing the way out, and wanting to end your own life, thinking that that will free you. But when you take it upon yourself to commit suicide, you're taking a gamble, because you don't know what's coming. We've talked about this a bunch in this video, but you believe you know what's going to happen when you die, and you make a rash decision of killing yourself, thinking you know what's going to happen. But ultimately, at the end of the day, even if you're not even aware of it, you don't know what's going to happen. So you're taking a gamble. And what that gamble is I hope what happens when I die is better than this. That's the gamble. But rather than taking such a gamble like that, I want to offer you an alternative gamble, which is, let's see if this gets better. Let's see if this pain loosens and recedes and calms. Let's see if something profound happens. Let's see if something incredible happens. Let's see how I think tomorrow. Try that gamble. Rather than gambling with planes of existence, of life and death, gamble with your perspective. Let's see how I feel tomorrow. Let's see how long this pain really lasts. Take that gamble. There's no need to try and take destiny into your own hands. Life is here for you. And it's fucking hard. It's hard. And as I say this, I can feel my own lack of understanding and real knowing of what this is, but something in me, deep, deep down, comes forth to tell you, it's alright, man, And this journey is so much more profound than you could ever imagine. So take the gamble of seeing where this life is going without killing yourself. Hold off. Don't do it yet. Don't do it. Think to yourself, what's tomorrow going to be like? How am I going to feel tomorrow? What's my next thought going to be? What if this pain goes away? What if it turns out far better than I could ever have possibly imagined? Take that gamble. Don't play God. Because we don't know what this is. We are the children of God, the children of Spirit. And yes, I know it sounds far out saying it. I cringe saying it, but it's how I feel. I don't know. There's an old sort of prayer affirmation. It says, "Let go and let God." Relax and release, surrender. Let go into life and see what happens. Alan Watts shared essentially exactly what I'm saying right now. He said, before you pull that trigger, when it's all gone to hell and you're about to kill yourself, before you pull that trigger, put the gun down and say, for once in your life, say to life itself, I'm tired of doing. Let's see what you do. Life, speak to it as its own being, as its own entity, which it is. It's its own thing. It's life. Before you do something else, you've done enough. You've done enough. You've done enough shit and enough doing. You've done enough stuff. You're exhausted. You're literally about to kill yourself. Put the gun down. Step away from the ledge. Say, you know what, life? Let's see what you do. What are you going to do now? If I don't do something right now, what are you going to do? And it might just save your life. It might just change your mind. It's hard, life. The work we're doing here. It's heavy shit. One moment at a time. One breath at a time. Remember who you are. Such a mystery, such a mystery. You are loved. You are love. And it's so easy to forget. But all you're doing is forgetting. You still are love. You just forgot that. Pull back. Recede from the personality a little bit. Learn how to do that. Tune back into nature. Tune back into yourself. The breath. The sights. The sounds. The presence of reality itself. In this moment. Right now. And don't think about what it is. Don't Don't say what it is. Don't tell it what it is, but let it be what it is. And realize that you are that. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's a pretty heavy topic. If you want someone to talk to or need someone to talk to, my Instagram is in my YouTube bio. You can even comment. Reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. And I would be more than happy and honored to talk with you and chat about life and existence and problems and personal struggles and anything. I'm here to listen. I'm here to share, to try and deeper understand this process, this journey of life. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was insightful, shed some light on the complexities of life, or maybe it was just even fun to listen to, interesting to listen to. I love you guys so much. I don't know you, I don't know who's watching right now, but I love you. We are life. Here we are. We're on a wild ride right now, as I said a while ago. Remember who you are. Every day, do your best to remember who you are. Thank you so much for watching. Namaste.